As you can probably tell, I love the Mario Kart series. It's one of the best multiplayer series out there, and the definitive kart racing series. The only kart racers I have played that even come close in quality to Mario Kart are Diddy Kong Racing and Crash Team Racing, and it's clear Mario Kart set the standard for what kart racers are today. But one thing I've wondered is, what is the general consensus on what the best Mario Kart game is? The video I made ranking every Mario Kart game was my personal opinion, but this time I created a poll that I posted on YouTube and Reddit that you guys voted in, and in this video, I'll be ranking the Mario Kart games based on your votes while also showing off some of your comments. Just like my personal list, I did not include Mario Kart Arcade GP VR. I don't really consider that to be an entry in the series, and really, it's more of an amusement park attraction than anything else. Honestly, adding that would feel on the tier of adding Mario Kart Monopoly. Not to mention its release was only limited to VR arcades in Japan, and a very select number of cities in the US and Europe. So unless you live in those cities or are Nathaniel Bandy, you probably never played it. But if you have, please let me know in the comments. I also decided to include 8 and 8 Deluxe as one game, as including both in the poll would make it redundant and pointless. Unless you really loved Mario Kart 8's quote-unquote battle mode, there's no way it's better than 8 Deluxe. I'll also provide a little bit of my own commentary and a few of my own opinions, but first and foremost, this video wouldn't have been possible without you guys. So without further ado, here is every Mario Kart game ranked by you guys. At the bottom of the list, we actually have a tie between two of the arcade games, Mario Kart Arcade GP and GP2. Sadly, they did not get any votes. This did not come as a surprise to me considering how obscure these games are and how different they are compared to other entries. I personally really like the arcade games. They have such a unique feel to them, and the track themes are really cool, with my favorites being Diamond City from WarioWare and the Pac-Man theme tracks. And Rainbow Coaster is really cool too. I also like how many items there are. But those are just my opinions. From what I can gather, a lot of the fans feel the arcade entries are so far removed from the main series, and you know what? I can agree with that. Nintendo has never acknowledged their existence at all, and the only element from the games that has made it into a mainline Mario Kart was the Thundercloud item from GP and the Wii. Thanks, dumb meme guy, for that fun fact. It's not just that, the game is radically different. The tracks are far more linear and shorter, and because you can only use 3 items at a time, there's not the frantic item use Mario Kart games are known for nowadays. Weird considering that the game has almost 100 items. With a game like Mario Kart Tour, it's simplified, but still feels like a mainline Mario Kart. But it's clear the Mario Kart Arcade GP games were designed for arcades and solely arcades, and for that, it's an excellent experience. But if you compare it to the mainline games generally, it's just too different and I can see why it's placed low. Not to mention, not many people have gotten the chance to play them. That's not saying Arcade GP is bad. It's just somewhat obscure and is radically different from any other entry. That's really it. Super Mario Kart. The game that started it all, and arguably the game that's aged the worst in my opinion. But it makes sense because it was the first game after all. I feel with Super Mario Kart, you really had to play it when it first came out to fully appreciate it, but needless to say, there are plenty of people out there who find it to be such a great experience and the best Mario Kart. And there are things Super Mario Kart does differently and really well. I feel like skill plays a much greater role in winning a race here than in later entries. Frantic items weren't fully embraced until Mario Kart 64, and this game did not have the blue shell, so that's another plus. While Super Mario Kart has aged poorly in my opinion, I honestly envy those who got to experience it in its heyday, and I've seen comments saying the same thing. Plus, a lot of people rave about how fun the battle mode is. Ramon Olala commented, Super Mario Kart on the SNES, still nothing matches it, and it's clear that the game had such a huge and positive impact on fans. This honestly came as a surprise to me. Mario Kart Arcade GP DX did manage to get at least 1% of the votes, and considering the fact that the arcade games are rather obscure, I was surprised to say the least. But I couldn't be happier. Mario Kart Arcade GP DX was released in 2013 and is available at every Dave & Buster's across America. Every time I go there, I always look forward to playing it, but the lines are always long to play it, so I try to get there early so I could squeeze some rounds in. It takes the gameplay of the first 2 GP games and expands upon it. The tracks are more unique, a bit more detailed, and everything is in glorious HD. There are more items than ever before, and they are awesome. But where Arcade GP DX really shines is the multiplayer. Nothing quite as awesome as playing Mario Kart head-to-head in an arcade, and there's even a co-op tank mode where one player controls a tank and the other shoots shells. This is such a cool mode that I would love to see in a mainline entry. Definitely the most underrated Mario Kart, and I'm glad it's getting some love. Switchport, baby! Mario Kart Super Circuit on the Game Boy Advance was the first handheld Mario Kart and is one of the earliest GBA games. Personally, I think Super Circuit is good. It hasn't aged super well, but still can be fun, and has some cool tracks. But I understand completely why it's in this spot on the list. Every Mario Kart game introduces something new. Super Mario Kart was the start of it all. Mario Kart 64 defined Mario Kart as we know it today. Mario Kart Super Circuit, it just felt like a combination of the first two games, and that's kinda it. No new characters, no new items, it just felt like another Mario Kart. And yeah, the game hasn't aged well. It was an early GBA game, so it couldn't render 3D properly. If you want some truly great racing games on the GBA, check out Crash Nitro Kart and Banjo Pilot. They control far better and emulate 3D much better. Really, there's not much of a reason to go back to Super Circuit, unless you're interested in the history of the Mario Kart series. Return of MCH on Reddit said, "I'm the odd kid who likes Super Circuit the best, so I'm happy to see the game is getting some love outside of Scott the Waz's nostalgia for it."
Sue! Wiggly!
I'm honestly surprised that this game is ranked lower than I expected, but I guess we're in a different era. Mario Kart 64 is a game I believe defined the series, and is what made Mario Kart the game we know and love today. Back in the early 2010s, I remember Mario Kart 64 constantly topping best Mario Kart game lists, and even being included as one of the best Mario games, and while I find it a bit overrated in that regard, I totally understand why people love it so much. It set the standard for every following Mario Kart, with 4-player multiplayer, fun, unique, and memorable tracks, frantic items, and yes, that includes the dreaded blue shell. But the best part about Mario Kart 64 is easily the multiplayer. I think people nowadays are leaning more towards later entries being the best Mario Kart, but 64 is still a great game, and has stood the test of time in my opinion. Ranked above Mario Kart 64, this game is actually placed very similarly to my personal list. Mario Kart 7 did a lot of cool things for the Mario Kart series. It added gliding underwater sections that have been in every following Mario Kart game. It reintroduced coins to the series too, so make that what you will. I also like how you can customize your kart to your liking, but personally, I just use standard everything. A lot of people disagreed with my placement of 7 on my personal list, and I can see why. If you can get past the lack of a versus mode in single player and the roster, it's a Mario Kart game with the best track selection and excellent gameplay. Not to mention an excellent online mode. Definitely a good entry in the series. This is going to be the most controversial entry on the list by far. Mario Kart Tour is the latest Mario Kart, and is for mobile devices. When I first did my every Mario Kart game ranked list, the game was loaded with problems. But the main problem with it for me was the lack of multiplayer, and I'm happy to say, it's in the game now, and works exactly how I wanted it to work. I could literally text a friend and ask to play Mario Kart, and we'll be playing within a minute. Not everyone I know has a Switch, but everyone has a smartphone, so being able to play Mario Kart with anyone is fantastic to say the least. While the game is loaded with microtransactions and it can be very greedy, Mario Kart Tour is Mario Kart at its core, and has some solid gameplay, fun tracks, special items, and costumes for characters. Sure, they take up character slots, but we are also getting fan favorites like Diddy Kong, Birdo, Pauline, and the Hammer Brother, which is great. It's nice to see some returning fan favorites along with some new ones and fun costumes. Take notes, Mario Kart 9. Going back to my personal list, I'd probably rank Mario Kart Tour a bit higher than GP 1 and 2, or really maybe on the same scale. It's not perfect, but because it has seamless multiplayer, it's much better than it was when it launched. I personally think Nintendo should have delayed the game until it had multiplayer for their interest, but I think it's better it didn't take off. All Nintendo really needs to do now is tone down the microtransactions and remove the gacha mechanics, and we'd honestly have a pretty great Mario Kart. There's still many positive aspects of Mario Kart Tour, and fun still can be had. Ah yes, now we're getting into one of my personal favorites. Mario Kart Double Dash is such a unique entry in the series. It's the only Mario Kart game with 2 drivers, and an element of strategy beyond item use. Characters mean something because they have special items, so you'll have to decide which characters to use for your best interest. You guys really like the double carts mechanic I see in the comments, and I couldn't agree more. While a lot of entries end up getting replaced by newer entries for me and many others, there's always a reason to go back to Double Dash just because of how unique it is. One of my favorite comments I saw about Double Dash comes from its Ewan, comparing an episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse to Double Dash because of how wacky and crazy it is. And you know what? I couldn't agree more. Great analogy there, Ewan. Here's another favorite of mine, and a game that's widely considered to be one of the best entries. This was ranked ever so slightly higher than Double Dash, mind you. Mario Kart DS did so much for the Mario Kart series, and set the standard for what it is today. Retro tracks were formally introduced, and it is home to some of the greatest tracks in Mario Kart history, Waluigi Pinball being my favorite Mario Kart track of all time. Many people who watch my channel grew up with it, and with Mario Kart DS, it isn't just nostalgia. The game is truly an excellent entry in the Mario Kart series, and the only one besides Tour to have a mission mode. This is almost like an adventure mode. If there's one thing most Mario Kart games lack, it's single player content, but Mario Kart DS has plenty of content for single player if you're riding solo. One of my favorite comments about the game comes from David Sailors, and the way he describes how great Mario Kart DS is with its excellent replay value and excellent gameplay is a great way to describe why Mario Kart DS is truly an exceptional entry. It introduced so much for the series, set the standard for every following Mario Kart, and unlike some of the other entries, it's aged as well as fine wine. This is the latest mainline game, and the best-selling Wii U game and Switch game. This right here is my personal favorite entry in the series. It has the best gameplay, best tracks, and an excellent battle mode along with excellent online. The only problems I have with it are the roster of characters, and the fact that I'm getting tired of it, but I'm not gonna knock it for that last thing. It has the most tracks out of any Mario Kart, and is my go-to Mario Kart game. Unlike some of the other games on this list, the praise for it isn't as open, but it did manage to get second place, and I feel like it has a shared consensus that it has excellent gameplay and mechanics, and great multiplayer and a proper battle mode in 8 Deluxe. But if Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is so good, what can possibly be better than that? Mario Kart Virtual Cup is the definitive Mario Kart game on the Virtual Boy. Honestly, I don't know where the series would be without it. Actually, I do, because the game was never released, and I just wanted to throw you guys off for a second. The best Mario Kart game according to you guys is Mario Kart Wii. Even before I made this list, I got so many comments saying that I placed Mario Kart Wii too low. Spoiler alert, it was placed 5 out of 13, and because I included 8 and 8 Deluxe separately, roughly 4th place. And I had a few comments saying I needed to use bikes. In the footage, I did not, but yes, I used them. But wow, there's a lot of love for the game, and it has something that every other Mario Kart lacks. But I'll get to that. While Mario Kart Wii isn't my personal #1 favorite, I totally understand why it's so highly regarded as the best Mario Kart game, and how it got the most votes. Mario Kart Wii introduced 12-player races, bikes, and tricks. One of the things I failed to mention is just how good the bikes are and how they're different from karts. You can do wheelies here, but not in 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart Wii also has such a great selection of tracks with classics such as Koopa Cape, Wario's Gold Mine, Coconut Mall, Maple Treeway, Moonview Highway, and so many others. Besides some of the easier tracks in the Mushroom Cup, all the tracks are memorable and fun to play. Mario Kart Wii also has the best character roster out of any Mario Kart. Technically, Tour has the best roster, but at least here you're guaranteed to unlock every character. The roster is great. Rather than going for made-up babies and weird metal characters, Mario Kart Wii has almost all the fan favorites, and a new fan favorite, Funky Kong. This is a character that needs to come back along with his signature Flame Runner bike. Yeah, it would be cool to have characters like Hammer Brother, Pauline, Egad, and Kamek, but really, the roster is excellent as it is, and Pauline wasn't even relevant in 2008 anyway. Not to mention, Mario Kart Wii helped push Rosalina as a mainstay of the series, so that's great. On its own, Mario Kart Wii is a fantastic game, and like I said in my personal list, just because a game is ranked lower doesn't mean that I hate it. I'm referring to my personal list, of course, because here, it's placed #1. I think 8 Deluxe has better gameplay, but Mario Kart Wii has a better roster and more memorable tracks. So every game has its own strengths and weaknesses. But one thing a Mario Kart Wii has that no other Mario Kart game has is a big community. People are playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and 7 online, but with Mario Kart Wii, this is notable because the game is nearly 12 years old and people are still playing it. Fan servers exist so it can still be played online, and a project known as Custom Tracks Grand Prix exists, which adds over 200 new tracks to the game, along with options to mod characters. But the thing is, even on its own, there's so much love for Mario Kart Wii. So many of you just think it's the best Mario Kart. I see so many comments praising it, and you know what? Mario Kart Wii is the definitive Mario Kart game for our generation, and is a fan favorite Mario Kart game. So what do you guys think? Are you happy with the list? Doing this list was a lot of fun, and thank you to each and every one of you who voted. Anyways, thanks for watching, and keep calm and Dada on.